Despite all the drama surrounding the PS5 Pro, whether it's the price or lack of disk drive, it's actually selling out. And the 30th anniversary bundles are already gone. Exactly how I predicted it. I think by the time GTA 6 releases, a lot of people won't be able to get one, including myself. Let's get into the story. But first, the big question of the day. What if I gave you $100,000 to invest in either Xbox or PlayStation shares? Where will you invest the money? And no, you cannot spend it on anything else. That's the deal. Leave your answer in the comments and we'll get back to this later in the video. Trust me, it'll be worth it. We're gonna have some fun today, boys. And is the PlayStation 5 Pro still available for pre-order? There's been quite a bit of chatter and anticipation around this release, and understandably so. However, it hasn't been the smoothest of rides for everyone. Some people missed out on their chance to secure a console, while others managed to snag one. So congratulations to those of you who did. That's a pretty big win in the gaming community. The 30th anniversary edition also dropped today, and it was a limited edition release with only 12,000 units available. The design was sleek, and the demand for it was intense. From the moment it went live, it was clear that this was going to be a tough grab. Given the limited stock, it was kind of expected, but still a challenging experience for many. For those who were lucky enough to get one, well done. The rest of the community should give you some well-deserved props for managing to beat the odds. The gaming world is always full of these high-demand drops, and the PS5 Pro and 30th anniversary were no different. But let's dive into the drop itself and some of the issues that came with it. Many people reported bugs during the checkout process. Whether it was people being unable to complete their purchase or dealing with extended waiting periods, it's clear that this wasn't a smooth process. It's frustrating when you're so close but get tripped up by technical issues. There was also a lot of confusion around the timing. It seemed like the prime drop window was somewhere around 10 a.m., though there was some uncertainty about whether it was EST or PST. In the end, the general consensus leaned toward EST, but those details can be tricky, especially with multiple regions getting different time zones. Now, while the drop had its positive moments, with some people getting what they wanted, it was overshadowed by a lot of issues. Stock moved incredibly fast, and by the time many people got through the queue, the units were already sold out. With only 12,000 units, it wasn't surprising, but the entire process felt chaotic, to say the least. At the end of the day, for many, it's just the luck of the draw. For those who did manage to secure a console without any complications, well done. You beat the system this time around, and that's no small feat. For anyone still trying to get their hands on a PS5 Pro, there might still be some stock left. The availability window could be short depending on when you're seeing this, so don't wait too long if you're still hoping to grab one. Sony is winning again, that's for sure. Not only was it great news on the front of games that players can buy, it was massive for those who are still subscribed to the PS Plus service too. It came with some pretty hefty announcements that practically broke the spell of frustrating releases, with the PS Plus Essential October 2024 lineup decimating concerns that this month would be another flop, especially after the PS Plus Essential September drop. WWE 2K24, Dead Space, and Doki Doki Literature Club Plus all came together to make for a diverse and exciting lineup. Even if there's a chance that Sony ensured this month would be an instant classic because it knew it was going to reveal it all on a wider stage. That's not all they revealed, though. The Last of Us Part 1, in celebration of The Last of Us Day, is coming to PS Plus Extra and Premium tiers, completely free of charge to subscribers. You heard right. So let's talk about The Last of Us Part 1 remake for the PS5, which I finally had the chance to play, and I have to say, I'm pretty impressed. As a game that already left a huge mark on the industry with its original release, this remake had a lot of expectations to live up to, especially considering the high standard of visual and narrative quality Naughty Dog is known for. But the PS5 version really takes everything to another level. First off, the graphical overhaul is stunning. The environments, lighting, and character models have all been given an incredible level of detail that brings the world to life in a way that's hard to describe until you experience it. From the overgrown cities to the small emotional expressions on the characters' faces, the improvements in the visual fidelity make the story even more immersive. Ellie and Joel feel more real than ever, and those tense, quiet moments hit even harder now that you can see every little nuance in their performances. It really captures the bleak beauty of a post-apocalyptic world while making it feel vibrant and hauntingly real. The performance on the PS5 is also something to note. Playing the game in 60 frames per second with near-instant load times completely changes the experience, making the gameplay feel smoother and more responsive. The DualSense controller is another feature that adds to the immersion, especially with the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. While the core of the game remains unchanged in terms of the story and character development, the upgrades elevate the emotional intensity of the narrative. If you've already played the original, this remake still offers something fresh by giving you a chance to see the world of The Last of Us with new eyes. And if you're a first-time player, this version is, without a doubt, the best way to experience this iconic story. The big question of the day: what if I gave you $100,000 to invest in either Xbox or PlayStation shares? Where will you invest the money? A couple of days ago, I stumbled across a YouTuber who seemed pretty funny and edgy. He had this smart, sarcastic way of bashing on the gaming industry, taking jabs at Sony ponies and making fun of PlayStation's lineup. Honestly, it made me laugh because some of his points were factual, and I even agreed with him on a few things. But then, in his next video, he used the same formula, this time saying the recent state of play was garbage, and that Sony has nothing special to offer aside from the Ghost of Tsushima sequel. He even went as far as to claim that Sony hasn't had any notable games in the last 10 years. Sure, a bit of rage baiting. Fine, I'd normally brush that off. But what really got me was when he pulled up a list of Xbox games coming out and started explaining how Xbox is superior to PlayStation. And mind you, this was after the PS5 Pro reveal and the recent state of play. That's when I felt I had to respond. Aren't most of these games coming to PlayStation as well? Let's not ignore the fact that Sony has had some major hits this year. Stellar Blade and Helldivers 2, which, by the way, was highly successful on PC, were completely off the radar for Xbox players. And let's talk about Black Myth: Wukong. That game has already sold millions of PlayStation 5 units in China. These aren't opinions. These are documented facts. It's a Game of the Year contender and a punch in the gut for anyone who wants to downplay the impact of the PlayStation platform right now. Looking ahead, GTA 6, which by all signs won't come to PC until years later, is going to play best on the PS5 Pro. We're talking about a platform where games like Final Fantasy, even if it's not my favorite franchise, dominate. Whether we like it or not, the truth is the big games are either on PS5 or PC. And let's be honest, this isn't about fanboyism, it's about facts. Phill Spencer himself admitted it in an interview. We lost this generation. He even mentioned that Sony's success comes down to its superior marketing budget, despite Microsoft spending $69 billion on the Activision acquisition. So where's the excuse, really? This isn't me blindly defending Sony. I want Xbox to succeed too because competition is healthy for everyone. But you can't ignore the facts. A lot of Xbox players have already moved to PlayStation, and it's easy to see why. When you have $2,000 to spend, sure, build a gaming PC and be happy. But if your budget is around $600 to $700, why choose Xbox? Games like Doom and COD Black Ops are coming to PS5 anyway. And as for Indiana Jones, PS5 players aren't exactly clamoring for it. I'm not saying Xbox should fail, I want it to do well. But let's not forget that Phill Spencer himself essentially threw in the towel. He knows Xbox has to bring games to PlayStation just to stay afloat.
Has to be better games that more people can play.
If things don't change, Xbox could end up as the next SEGA, another company forced to step out of the hardware race. He went on to claim that Black Myth only sold 6 PS5s and that I and all Sony ponies are delusional. And at that point, I just gave up. I'm not going to name him because I'm not here for drama or to encourage people from this channel to go over and troll. I also don't want his audience coming here to stir things up. But I have to say, I never expected this level of mental gymnastics from someone I respected. Here are the hard facts about Black Myth and its impact on PS5 sales. The game has only been out for a week and is already breaking records. It now holds the Steam record for the most concurrent players on a single-player game and sold 10 million units within 3 days of release. This makes it the fastest-selling game ever, triggering a surge in console sales in China like we've never seen before. It also broke Steam's single-player concurrent record with over 2.2 million players in the first 24 hours. The game's cultural ties to the famous novel Journey to the West likely contributed to its success, especially in China. Despite PC and mobile gaming dominating the market there, Black Myth still led to a massive increase in PS5 sales. According to Alibaba, PS5 sales more than doubled in the week leading up to the game's release. This surge even boosted Sony's stock by 7.5% within days, putting them on track to meet their 2024 growth targets. China's gaming industry is also expanding, with over $43 billion in domestic revenues in 2023 and 668 million players. Game Science, the developers of Black Myth, built the game using Unreal Engine 5, creating a stunning ARPG that blends Chinese mythology with martial arts gameplay. So, you tell me, are these not hard facts? This is not me as a gamer bending information in my favor. This is me looking at the situation from a business perspective. And I leave you with this question. question. If I give right now $100,000 to invest in either Xbox shares or PlayStation shares, where will you invest it? And it needs to be Xbox shares, not Microsoft shares. And no, you cannot spend it on something else. The deal is I'm putting $100,000 in one of these two brands on your name, and you can sell your shares in the next 5 years and keep your profits. Where will you invest? Again, this is not about games. It's about business. The thing is, people like to talk, but if I ask you to put your money where your mouth is, that's a different story. While PlayStation 5 continues to outsell Xbox Series XS at an estimated 2.1 ratio, recent data suggests the gap might be widening even further. Both Sony and Microsoft reported their earnings this week, revealing some striking contrasts. Microsoft announced a 31% drop in hardware sales, but didn't provide exact figures. On the other hand, Sony reported a 29% drop, but disclosed they shipped 4.5 million consoles. Analysts using available data estimate that in the last quarter, PS5 outshipped Xbox Series XS close to 5.1. This would put Xbox shipments around 800,000, 900,000 units for the quarter. Dismal numbers compared to Sony's performance. This analysis comes from experts like Nico partners Daniel Ahmad and John Welfare, who have made similar estimates previously. With Microsoft not reporting actual unit sales for years, industry analysts rely on these calculations to gauge the market. So, what's going on? If Xbox sales continue at 800,000 units per quarter, that's only about 3.2 million Xbox sales annually. In contrast, Sony sold 20.8 million PS5s last fiscal year and expects to sell 18 million this year, even as sales peak. The Series S lower cost hasn't significantly impacted these numbers. One major issue for Xbox is the diminishing need to buy the console when most of its exclusives are available on PC. Meanwhile, PlayStation 5 maintains strong console-exclusive titles, keeping its hardware in demand. Both Sony and Microsoft face challenges, but they differ significantly. Microsoft is struggling with the sustainability of its Game Pass model and poor leadership decisions, like closing Hi-Fi Rush's Tango Gameworks. Sony, on the other hand, deals with ballooning game budgets and limited reach on its consoles. Recently, Sony has also faced issues with PSN linking as it tries to expand its live service games to PC. Guys, it's over. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry Xbox failed in such a horrible manner. Why am I sorry? When there's a monopoly and Sony has all the power, they become less consumer-friendly. So don't start partying yet. On top of that, Xbox's Game Pass model, while initially praised for its value, raises questions about its long-term sustainability. With significant drops in hardware sales and the closure of studios like Hi-Fi Rush's Tango Gameworks, Microsoft seems to be grappling with more than just sales figures. They're facing strategic and leadership challenges that are eroding their market position.
Each studio, each game team, and we look at a whole variety of factors when we're faced with sort of making decisions and trade-offs like that. But it all comes back to our long-term commitment to the games we create, the devices we build, the services, and ensuring that we're setting ourselves up to be able to deliver on those promises.
What? Bro, what are you talking about?
Their strategy seems non-existent at this point, just throwing money at problems and hoping something sticks. It's like they're waiting for Call of Duty to save the day by boosting Game Pass. But let's be real, that's not going to happen. And then they'll move on to the next big hope, just like they've been doing since the Xbox One era. Here's where things get interesting, or terrifying, depending on how you look at it. The US government is getting pretty aggressive with antitrust laws.
I think as an industry right now, there's a lot of pressure on the industry. It's been growing for a long time, and now people are looking for ways to grow. And I think that us as fans, as players of games, we just have to anticipate there's going to be more change in how some of the traditional ways that games were built and distributed. That's going to change. That's going to change for all of us. But the end result has to be better games that more people can play. Has to be better games that more people can play. Has to be better games that more people can play. Has to be better games that more people can play.